we still have to keep the fire lit under the individual initiative, under the going to school, educating yourself, still pushing yourself forward, because you can't just give up because of the way things are, and you still have to try to work hard to change things. Just like one of the things that Victor Woods was talking about here is that, we got to stop making excuses, and we have to, get something started. And given what you both have articulated on, given the fact that in another few days we'll be voting for either George Bush or Mr. Kerry, and a lot of times, historically, blacks have looked to the Democrats to be their savior, as opposed to, again, looking inside. The question I'm trying to get to is, do you see any type of a major black positive backlash coming anywhere soon from someplace here in America?
I don't, because like I said before, and I've been following a guy by the name of Dr. Claude Anderson, who has a think tank out in Washington, D.C., and he puts it so beautifully. The focus is that we see now away from black people and to other groups, whether they be the Gay and Lesbian Association, the Hispanic Association, or the Tree Loggers Association. So the whole issue of blacks in general, unless they're trying to promote a representative or senator, which is basically in a black district, these issues are always closed over, because in essence, if you look at it innately, basically they're saying what I've always said on this show, that black people have nothing to complain about, basically. If you look back as our sojourn here from Africa to America, it's the best thing that ever happened to us. So we might as well roll with the punches, roll with slavery, roll with economic deprivation, roll with prejudice. We are basically the freest and economically privileged black people. Where we know that's not true, but that's the situation that's being perpetrated now as this country gets more diverse ethnically and with certain ideas. The whole issue of the black political base is basically being washed over, and that's through all parties, Republican or Democrat.
Do you see a movement coming? Or is it here and we in Fort Wayne just don't see it?
I think it's right at the doorstep. Dissatisfaction produces a change. And when you have a society like this one that is so dissatisfied with the condition that it's in, it's going to produce a change. Change is necessary because you have dissatisfied black people with Caucasians in the condition that they're in. You have dissatisfied white people with the situation that they're in as far as black people are concerned. You have individuals who don't even want to speak towards the constraints that are placed upon the black community in this society, and you have constraints that are placed upon several so-called minorities, because really we're one big majority, but there's a division that we don't really look at because we disassociate ourselves with our own brothers and sisters. Just because of the fact that they might speak Spanish and we might speak English, we come from the same colonial background. Even though they were colonized by Spain and we were colonized by England, we have to understand that we have a condition that we share that is together. That's my brother, that's my sister. So if you see the things that are taking place in this country and throughout the world, definitely dissatisfaction is producing a change. You can see it in the weather that a change is being produced. First and foremost, you can see it in the lack of production that this country is getting, that change is being produced. And then eventually it trickles down to the people where there's a mass movement.
The oppression, before I comment about the oppression that blacks have had to deal with, Kay, go ahead and run that next clip, please, and then we'll come back here and talk some more here.
And that's what we are, have learned to deny the fact that we are Africans. You've learned it. You've learned it just like you learned to count and breathe oxygen. You've learned to reject yourself. No one, ladies and gentlemen, can do to us what we are doing to ourselves. It can't be done. We have to be involved in our own oppression or we couldn't be oppressed. Now just take a very good good look at America. Where did everyone in America come from? With the exception of the Native American, we call the Indian, everyone in America came from somewhere else. Because we are a country of immigrants, hyphenated Americans. Now there are 62 million English Americans. They came from England. There are 49 million German Americans. They came from Germany. There are 40 million Irish Americans. They came from Ireland. Now the Germans can go back to Germany, the Irish can go back to Ireland, and the English can go back to England. But can you go back to Negro land? Do you know why you can't go back to Negro land? Because there is no such place as Negro land. Now how is it that everybody is still what they were 400 years ago, and over the period of 400 years we turned into something else? Why aren't we still African? If they're still English and Irish and Germans, why aren't we still Africans? Why do we have to turn into all these other things? Because this country has established an implicit and an explicit expectation that if you are an African, you must want to be white. And if you do not want to be white, you dislike white people. We have a condition in this country that if you like being black, you are accused of not liking whites. And we try to prove we don't dislike whites by disliking ourselves.
Okay, we're back live again. Again, this is a live call-in show, and the phone number is on the screen if you have any comments to make. Triant, according to Tony Brown, you know, blacks have a really hard path to walk on because there are so many psychological stimuli hitting us. If you do this way, you're damned. You go this way, you're damned.
Mm-hmm. In a manner of speaking, that's true. Just because you love yourself doesn't mean that you hate white people. You know, we have to come out of that mental condition. And we have to also come out of the mental condition of wanting to be Caucasian, because that is what's produced as that's what's produced the negative growth in the community and produce what you call a Negro, a nigger. You know, most people don't want to say those words, but it's a concept of having black skin with a white mentality. You know, you always want better for the slave master than what you want for yourself. This is constant perpetuation of self-hatred, you know, and we have to come out of self-hatred and grow into self-love, because there are many good qualities about the original people that are here in North America. We are very loving people. We are very caring people. We uphold moral standards and things of this nature, even though there has been a decline in some aspects, you know, of our society, because we have been trying to integrate. But prior to integration, we constantly held communal development. And these are the things that we need to get back to, is communal development. You know, you have an extended family. If you got in trouble, Mr. Hackley, in the community, you were not only chastised by your mother, you were chastised by the community. But the community doesn't want to be involved in the lives of children like that anymore, because they want to have a hands-off approach to the development of the child. But it takes a community to develop a child in that aspect. You know, yeah, it's a beautiful program that was instituted, you know, by Hillary Clinton, but she stole it off of the blacks and the mindset of black people who've been doing it for thousands and millions and trillions of years, communal development. Because that's the development and aspect in the way of the supreme being. You have to, none of us are independent. We're all interdependent. We all have interlocking parts. We are independent as a people, we can be. But we are all interdependent upon one another for our success, because none of us can do all things.
But you know, I haven't received too much negative feedback from whites, but a lot of blacks have been telling me that especially the ones that have achieved the American dream, at least they feel that they have. They don't want to talk about this kind of stuff because there's a risk associated with it, or I haven't listed all the reasons why. I stopped at number 27. But it seems like the more money we make, the more afraid we become in the society.
Well, I look at one aspect historically, and that was the big debate between Booker T. Washington and W.D. Du Bois. They're saying that Booker T. Washington's program of bringing in the labor skills of the black community were the only things that were able to eventually garner some political wealth. We just get our economics tight, and that some blacks are against him for the simple fact that we were basically going back to what we did previously in the South during the time of slavery, and that W.D. Du Bois was too uppity and too involved in the European system of things, and that being involved in the political system wasn't the best aspect because whites have shown historically that they did not want blacks in there. But as I believe, as we come about through lynchology and other people, as we see the dire straits of our community, actually we can incorporate both. Just because you speak with the King's English doesn't mean that you can't be a strong black man. Just because you happen to be with a little bit of hip-hop slang, that doesn't mean you can't be a strong black man, okay? Now, there are divergence from that. You know, you can be, I remember going to the program where they talked about Clarence Thomas. He's the blackest man outside, but still the whitest man inside. So we do have that problem within our community. But yeah, we're both hit by stimuli, but it's going to take that aspect of that W.D. Du Bois model and Booker T. Washington model put together in order for us to be successful.